Hey guys, it's your boy Sig back at you again with some more marathon content. I got something a little different for you all today. Recently, Bungie dropped an article where they teased some information about upcoming updates to the game, including some key dates to look forward to for a big mid-season update and the start of Season 3. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about the current state of Marathon, as we are a few weeks into Season 2, including how we got here, things that Bungie did right, and things that, in my opinion, could have been done better. And also where we go from here. Like, where does the game go from here? So with that, let's dive right into it. I'd like to start with, going over some of the things that I thought went well in Season 2. Because, I love playing Marathon. And, I think there's a lot of things that Bungie has done right with the game that deserve to be called out. Before we, go into the things that I think could have been done a little bit better. So, to start for Season 2, I think the main thing that I thought was done really well was the introduction of the cradle system. So, the cradle system, as likely a lot of you already know, has allowed players to really dive into the build crafting component of the game and alter their character to suit their playstyles and prioritize the traits or the abilities that more so suits their style of playing. And I thought that was a really big step up from Season 1 that was a really kind of a fresh thing that they brought to Season 2. Aside from that, one of the things that really I think stands out to me as both a Season 1 player and a continuing Season 2 player is just how much easier progression has become in Season 2. It's not, we're 3-4 weeks into Season 1, and it's not uncommon for me to run into players who are north of level 300 at this point in time. I mean, if I just stop and think, right now, 4 weeks into Season 2, I am now level 110, and after 3 months of Season 1, I finished at 150 or 160. I mean, it just goes to show that the level of progression has really come to a peak at this point in the season, and a lot of people are progressing their contracts and progressing their factions much quicker this time around, which is a nice feeling, right? Because for those of us who don't have a lot of time to put into the game, people like to feel like they're progressing, even if they only have, say, an hour to play each day, that they log on and they at least bump out a few contracts in that time frame. That really helps with, getting that dopamine rush that allows players to want to come back and play more, right? So I think that's a big plus for Bungie. All right, moving on. So some other things that Bungie did well were some of the changes to the sandbox, right? We got some new guns this season, the D54 battle pistol, the KKV, vector grenades, and other things like night optics. So a lot of those things I think were great changes. I mean, anybody who's played in Season 2 will tell you that the battle pistol is one of the more popular guns in the game as of right now. I mean, it is very overpowered and probably will get nerfed into oblivion at some point, but as of right now, as it stands, it is one of the most popular guns in the game. So just based on that, I think I would say those were good additions to the game. Nightmarsh, the new map or the new mode on a different version of a pre-existing map, right? That I think was a good addition. A lot of players that I know, and myself included, we played Nightmarsh quite a bit when the season started, and as far as I have seen, the feedback has been good. It's Dire Marsh, but at night with a little bit less players. I think it's 4 squads on the map, and a little bit higher tier loot. There's a new boss, a new warden, a gold room where you can get to if you defeat the boss, and new events on the map. So it was a refreshing experience. Something new for players coming from Season 1 to experience, and I think that was a great change to the game, and it provided that boost of new content that keeps people engaged and wanting to play more. And so I think more of that would be great. In trying to keep this video at a reasonable length, I think that will likely do for things that Bungie did well in Season 2. And we'll move on to things that I think that could have been done a bit better, in my opinion. So I will address the elephant in the room, which is that the player numbers right now are lower than they were at the end of Season 1. And we are not even at the mid-season update, which is actually scheduled for July 21st. And we're roughly about 4 weeks into Season 2 at this point. And after a very good start, I think, to the season with, a decent influx of players and the free-to-play week, there was very poor, I think, player retention after that first week or 10 days or so. And I think there's quite a few reasons for that. Some of them are actually unrelated to the game itself, which I'll get to, but others are very much to do with the game and how Season 2 has rolled out. And so I think where I'll start is that the way that Bungie went about the start of Season 2 led to a phenomenon where endgame loot became pretty widespread almost immediately after the start of the season, like within a day. And that's not an exaggeration. Within 1 day of the start of the season, after a wipe, there were people with gold weapons, gold Mizrayas, gold, lots and lots of gold loot. And what that led to was the economy for the game just completely got inundated very quickly. And we didn't really get to enjoy that period at post-wipe where everybody's kind of, using the very, very basic kits. Green shields are the prevalent, I guess, loadout that people are using. You might see the occasional blue, the occasional purple, but we never actually got to experience that because many people were farming the sponsored mode, right, that I mentioned earlier. They're farming it so they get the gold loot from the boss room, and so that led to a lot of people getting access to this high-end loot at no risk at all, right? And so then you have that happening, and then with the botched rollout of Season 2, where because the servers were like very, very choppy for the first day of Season 2, they decided to gift people who experienced these issues a bunch of free sponsored kits, basically, that had blue shields or purple shields or a variety of these things. And so then a lot of people got an influx of this high-end gear to use as of day 2 of the season. And so really it just felt like we went from the end of Season 1 wipe to immediately back to exactly how it was at the end of Season 1 again after the wipe. And so I think that really took away from the post-wipe experience that a lot of people who play extraction shooters actually really like that period post-wipe, right? That where everybody's kind of at the bottom again, trying to work the way up. And we kind of got robbed of that this season. And so I think that's one thing that Bungie will really have to work on for Season 3 and onwards if this game survives that long. That I hope it does, but if the game survives that long, I really hope that's something they address for future wipes. Another thing that I thought could have been handled a lot better was there was no new endgame content per se. Yes, you could say that the new Nightmarsh boss was endgame content, but it was kind of frustrating for me as somebody who, did Cryo Archive in Season 1, killed the compiler, finally, very close to the end of Season 1, that, going into Cryo again in Season 2, there was literally nothing different. Like, all the vaults had the same stuff in it. It was all the same. It was all the same. Now, I understand that there's only a very small percentage of players from Season 1 and onwards that actually completed compiler, but as one of those players who did, I just think it was kind of a missed opportunity to kind of mix things up a little bit and keep players retained players, right? And so that was kind of frustrating, and something that I heard as a complaint from other people who I play with. And so that kind of ties into the next point, which is the priority contracts, right? So with all our factions, right, we basically got 0 new contracts, right? It was basically all the same stuff that we did in Season 1. We would be expected to do it all over again with no changes. There were some new contracts added related to Nightmarsh for 2 of the factions, but aside from that, it was all the same. And so I think that was, again, another major missed opportunity to add new content, new lore for the game through these contracts. And again, that's another thing that I feel kind of pushed people away at this early stage of the season, because for me, I personally, I struggled to get through Season 1 contracts, and I didn't even finish all my priority contracts in Season 1. In Season 2, I finally did finish all of my priority contracts, but it was even more of a struggle this time around, because there was none of that, fresh, refreshing feeling that you could just you're doing something new for the first time, right? You're not learning anything new. You're just repeating something you already did before, just for completion's sake, right? And so I think that's something that Bungie could really look to improve upon. And the last thing that I really think could have been done a lot better was not actually related to the game in the future. This is a Bungie executive decision, right? So 1 week into the launch of Season 2 for Marathon, they decide to launch the final update for Destiny 2, another game under the same studio. And you can literally, if you ever watch the Steam charts, right, you could literally see as soon as the release of Destiny 2 update came about, you could see the player numbers for Marathon dropped something like 10 to 15k players in the span of 48 hours and never really recovered after that. And so that's that's an odd situation, right? Because I have nothing against Destiny. I never played Destiny, but if you have 2 games under the same studio, right, and you have a new game that you've put a lot of money into, and that is now your cash cow, I guess you could say, it just makes no sense to me for them to have these, very close releases to each other, and knowing that there's a lot of players who, came from Destiny and are playing Marathon now, that would, kind of take away from the pool of players from their one game and then shunt them over to the other game. But again, it is what it is. It's already done, but I think the player numbers have really suffered because of that, because again, there's a lot of overlap between the 2 games player bases, right? So again, I think that's kind of a summary of the things that got us to where we are right now, and why Marathon is where it is 4 weeks into Season 2. The last thing I want to talk about is what does Marathon need in order for it to succeed moving forward? And so the first thing I think would be great for this game from Season 3 onwards would be the release of new maps, right? New maps, I think, are one of the best ways to both keep current players engaged and retained, while also providing fresh new content for new players to dive into, right? Variety is great. We have 4 maps currently, right? We have Cryo, we have Perimeter, we have Dire Marsh, we have Outpost, and then of course we have Nightmarsh as an iteration of Dire Marsh, right? But these are the same maps that we've been playing on since, launch, right? So I think a new map in Season 3 or new maps would be a great addition to the current portfolio of Marathon, and would go a long way into, retaining players, and also, just being new content that players can dive into and keep them playing for longer, while also expanding on things like lore and having new contracts and new events and all that stuff that comes along with having a new map. That I think is a very exciting time for any player of an extraction shooter to go through. And so I think that's one of the things that really needs to be focused on moving forward with the launch of new seasons. Another thing that I think would do very well is the addition of new endgame content. Now, I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, the Nightmarsh boss is endgame content, but what specifically I'm talking about here is the Cryo Archive, as that was marketed to be the endgame content for Marathon, right? So I think adding new content to Cryo Archive, whether it be in the form of, new vaults you can access, or the vaults being changed from how they are now in some ways, new boss beyond compiler, or, something that's different with the way that you approach the compiler. I think that in itself would make it so much better for people who have really done all the endgame content and have played Cryo Archive and have done it all at this point, for them to be retained and engaged further. I think that's a huge area that needs work. And kind of playing off of that, I think revamping of the current maps that exist would be something that could be done that would help with, kind of see it as a low cost option for providing new, fresh content for players. Is, take, for example, Perimeter and really kind of reshape the map, add new areas you couldn't access before. Because what we're seeing right now is, even with the new content that was added for Season 2, people, chewed it up, ate it up, digested it, and we're done with it within 4 weeks, right? And then the player numbers reflect that. The amount of content that was added in Season 2 was not enough to sustain people through the course of the season. And with that, I'll say thank you all for watching and reaching the end of the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me to grow the channel and put out more Marathon content for y'all. And all the footage that you saw in this video are taken from my Twitch stream, so please come check me out. I stream Marathon every day. I also have a Discord server that you'll find a link to on my Twitch page, where you can come players to play with, and you'll even get to play with me. We have a great group of guys and girls, and so we're happy to see you there. So thanks again, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.